All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today, and I hope you guys had a great Christmas, great holidays, and spent some time with the family. But now we're back into it, and the first article I have is that Wall Street giants are postponing their entrance into the crypto industry amid falling prices. Oh, Wall Street, you guys are such Nancy's. Be a real hodler. Anyway, Wall Street giants are postponing their plans to more actively enter the crypto industry as the value of cryptocurrencies has fallen. So according to people familiar with Goldman Sachs' crypto business, the firm's progress has been too slow to be noticeable. True. Moreover, the company's crypto non-derivative funds have so far attracted only 20 clients, the unnamed sources told Bloomberg. Yeah, only 20 people because, you can just buy crypto. You don't need Goldman Sachs. In addition, Justin Schmidt, hired to head digital assets division at Goldman Sachs, revealed in November that regulators were limiting his plans and that the company is going to add a digital asset specialist to its prime brokerage division. And as for Morgan Stanley, the company has been ready to launch swaps tracking Bitcoin futures since early fall, but has not yet received a single contract, sources told Bloomberg. Nonetheless, the firm is ready to launch crypto services as soon as there's any sign of demand, an unnamed source noted. As soon as there's any sign of demand. I don't know, there's been demand for past 10 years, but again, nobody cares about you, Morgan Stanley. Citigroup and Barclays have experienced similar problems, sources say. The United States-based banking group has not yet traded any of its crypto-related products within the regulatory framework, and two Barclays employees hired to explore the industry for the firm left this year. A spokesperson noted that the UK company has no plans to open a crypto trading desk. So, unfortunately for the people who really want Wall Street to enter into crypto, which I can't even fathom that in my mind, why you would want that, other than just for the price of your crypto to go up temporarily until you sell it, and then you'll never be able to get it again because it'll be such a ridiculous price because of Wall Street money. Unfortunate for you that they're not entering just yet. So there's been a lot of hype. Oh, they're coming for well over a year now, and still no sign of Wall Street, aside from some futures markets here and there, pretty much nothing. And I couldn't care less, just because I think that cryptocurrency should be definitely not industrialized in that sense, or rather institutionalized, because it really defeats the purpose of crypto in itself. And if you're going to institutionalize crypto, why not just use fiat, in my opinion? So no Wall Street giants just yet. Moving on to Vitalik Buterin. Bitcoin is genuinely cool tech, but Bitcoin SV is pure dumpster fire. Good job, Vitalik. But unfortunately, some other things that he says recently is a little weird. In a Twitter discussion with cryptocurrency commentator and entrepreneur Tour Demeester, I got nothing. Buterin debated the pros and cons of two algorithms used by many cryptocurrencies, proof of work and proof of stake. And as part of its long-term cryptocurrency, or in terms of its long-term upgrade schedule, rather, Ethereum plans to transfer from proof of work to proof of stake, with Buterin saying he doesn't believe in the former. So he doesn't believe in proof of work anymore. And he tweeted this the other day, and it led to quite a bit of backlash. A lot of people were fighting him. Hey, Vitalik, fix your cowlick. BSV, Bitcoin SV, which plans to use giant block sizes to solve scaling difficulties on chain, has faced technical and publicity hurdles since it came into being November 15th. The altcoin unwittingly became collateral damage from the debate after an advocate requested Buterin's opinion on it. The user had claimed the scaling plans from Bitcoin developers, specifically off-chain scaling via the Lightning Network, was a joke. Buterin slickly disagreed. He said, "I have my disagreements with the Bitcoin roadmap, proof of work, etc., but they're trying to do something that's genuinely cool tech," he responded. So, and he also responded that Bitcoin SV is pure dumpster fire. So basically, Vitalik disagrees with proof of work and wants to go to proof of stake, which is essentially Ethereum 2.0. I think they've renamed it like 8 times, but it's basically Ethereum 2.0, which every something like 50 blocks will be proof of work and the rest of it will be proof of stake. Now, if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I'm sort of an advocate for proof of stake. However, it's not ready yet. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So the only reason why I'm a fan of proof of stake of staking is just because the electricity consumption of proof of work is objectively getting pretty out of control. It is pretty ridiculous that in Australia they open up a coal power plant just to run a mining farm for proof of work Bitcoin for an ASIC farm. And that's a coal power plant, so we're using actual resources and burning them. And you could argue that in a lot of ways that, of course, making fiat money takes a lot of resources as well. It takes trucks to move it, takes factories to make it, takes employees, takes, everybody, all the employees making it, and people tracking it, sending it to banks, this, that, and the other thing, destroying it. So there's a lot of debate to go on with that. But the reason why I think that proof of stake is not ready yet is because it's too easy. And let me explain that a little bit. Nothing in this world comes too easily that rewards too greatly. And when it does reward greatly for such ease, then everybody sort of gets in on it. Just sort of like mining, if you will, with GPU mining. All you need to do is just go online and download some software and start mining, and you too can make money. Well, that's all said and good, and mining is great because it's, decentralizes networks and is proof of work in itself. But it was too easy, and the difficulty rose because everybody was getting in on it. And when anything in this world is too easy, it doesn't reward particularly well. And I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and I kind of want to veer off from crypto just a little bit to give you an example of this. And on that podcast, it was talking about men and women essentially, and one of the things was that if I go into a bar or a club or somewhere where there's women and I'm looking pretty good, but I'm poor, I have no ambitions, I have no life, I have a crappy job, if no job at all. And it's going to be rather difficult for me to actually mate, if you will, on the psychology, evolutionarily, speaking. But a man that weighs 110 pounds, 5'2", rolls up in a Lamborghini, and he walks away with a woman that night. So you might think to yourself, why was that? It's because he put in a lot of work to get that Lamborghini. He put in a lot of work to look good, to have good clothes, to have a good lifestyle. He put in a lot of ambition and work into his life in order to do that. And the other person did not put in very, very, very little. And so that's attractive because he put in so much and has gigantic ambition. And it's sort of interesting to think that, they were also talking about on that about wedding rings and why a wedding ring costs so much money. It's supposed to be like some 1/3 of an entire year's salary for a man. And it makes a lot of sense what they said because that is trust, because honesty, trust, and work in this life takes exactly that, a lot of work. And so if women could easily be wooed and you could mate for life essentially with just a bouquet of flowers, if you could just go out and buy a $30 bouquet of flowers and give it to any woman that you've seen, and then you can sleep with her for that night, the problem is that is easily scammable. Women would realize, hey, I can easily be scammed because of this, and that's why it doesn't work like that, because I could just give you a bouquet of flowers, we could go to bed that night, and I could wake up in the morning and run off with you and do the same thing again the next day with a $30 bouquet of flowers. But buying a wedding ring that costs $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 or more is a much harder process to do and requires a lot of trust, because if I'm going to put in this much work, this much ambition, and buy this ring, that's the difference, because I put in a lot of work to do that. And so with proof of stake, now getting back to crypto, I'm sorry about the little, but you'll see what I'm talking about here. With proof of stake, it's, one could argue that wealthy people could just as easily stake or just as easily do proof of work with mining. But I argue against that, because here's how proof of stake works. So I basically have a lot of money, so I could buy a lot of Ethereum and then stake it and get even more Ethereum from that. So that was too easy. All I had to do was go out and buy a bunch of Ethereum with my money and then stake it. And now I'm making money doing that. Now, as opposed to proof of work, if I have a lot of money, I can do that as well. But then I have to go out and buy a bunch of graphics cards or ASICs. I have to get a warehouse. I have to put them in the warehouse. I have to run all kinds of Ethernet cable, get them running, make sure the place is cool, and that takes all a lot of effort. It takes a lot of electricity, a lot of money, a lot of hardware, and a lot of logistics. So I have to set everything up. We're not just talking about, I instantly have ASICs or instantly have a rig that I can just turn on. No, there's a lot of work to that. I have to get a warehouse. I have to get all this cabling. I have to maybe have employees. And that's a totally different thing and a totally different effort of work that you have to put into something. And that's why for now, I'm going to have to go with proof of work is better than proof of stake, because staking is just too easy. Now, both whales on either side, rich people on either side can get into either one, but we all have to agree that proof of stake would be much easier to get into. Go onto an exchange, press, buy a whole bunch of Ethereum, buy a whole bunch of this coin or that coin to stake it, and then slap it in a wallet and boom, hit the staking button, and that's it. Whereas proof of work is a much more logistically demanding, and that's why it is rewarding, and that's why it should be more rewarding than proof of stake. I think we'll find out eventually that proof of stake will not be particularly rewarding in the future, because it will at first, but as everybody starts to realize, hey, this is really easy, all I have to do is buy Ethereum and then just start staking it and I'll get more Ethereum. But that will not be the case when it's too easy, and that's what I'm trying to get at. So Vitalik, I think you got the wrong idea a little bit there. But I do like the fact that it doesn't take a lot of electricity. But for now, proof of stake needs something much more difficult to occur before it's going to be very rewarding. Now, moving on here. Opinion: the ICOs are dead and killed by regulation. So the UAE Securities and Commodities Authority is expected to unveil regulations for ICOs by mid-2019. The idea is to provide a regulatory framework to startups and raise capital through crowdfunding via digital tokens without breaking securities laws. Unfortunately, the move is not only too little too late, but also counterproductive, as once red-hot ICO market now appears to be on its last legs of fear of a regulatory clampdown runs rampant. And so the SEC is cracking down on ICOs. You can never really even hold an ICO, at least in the United States. It was very difficult without registering with the SEC, and that doesn't even necessarily mean that what you're doing is still legal, even if you just registered. So ICOs have to be held in most other countries, and the total capital raised by ICOs is tremendously dropping. You can see in October 2017, 866 million was raised by ICOs, and by January and February, we had 2.3 billion, 2.5 billion in ICOs. So that was the glory days of ICOs, apparently. Except for whoever bought the ICOs. It was definitely not the glory days. So earlier in 2017, you could basically buy just about any ICO, and it would go up 5-10 times at least, for the most part. And you can see the massive decline here, and now we're down to about 65 billion. So we're not even close to October 2017, not even close to any other month for the most part, even 3 times as little as in September, as was November's 65 million. So the year started off with a bang, which saw almost 2.6 billion raised in February alone. But now the latest figures from token data show that fundraising has fizzled out, with just 65 million raised in November 2018, the lowest number since Q1 2017. So it's more public interest. ICO is down 87% worldwide and 93% in the United States. And I would argue that it was never particularly high in the United States to begin with, as sometimes it was a little difficult to buy ICO tokens in the United States because of KYC, and you'd end up having to go through it in a different way. So it was just a pain for most Americans, and a lot of people just didn't. I know a lot of people that did, but most people just didn't. So the ICO market is dead. The Digital Currency Group founder Barry Silbert told CNBC in late November, "You now have the lack of demand from ICOs. and you have all the sponsors of ICOs who raised a bunch of Bitcoin and Ethereum that are now starting to sell all of that. So why does the ICO market now resemble a ghost town? Well, many turned out to be scams, at least 1 out of every 5. Others managed their capital rather poorly amid a year-long bear market with a vast majority of projects now underwater. And one of the biggest reasons is undoubtedly regulations, which were ironically touted as one thing that was needed for greater adoption by so-called experts. One such visionary said increasing regulation will bring certainty and safety to investors to make the market overall, ushering in massive growth in the crypto asset class and spurring innovation from entrepreneurs at unprecedented levels. But the ICO fundraising model actually became a hit because it disrupted the traditional VC model and knocked down barriers to entry, allowing anyone to play. One simply had to acquire some Bitcoin or Ether, and boom, you're free to invest in whatever you like. And on the flip side, anyone could also now easily become a startup. During the halcyon days of the ICO, all one had to do is slap some words on a white paper, pay some influencers, post your QR code next to a countdown ticker, and watch the ether roll in. And again, 1 in 5, 1 in 6 of them were a scam. Most of them went nowhere. It was just exactly what it says, slap some words on a white paper. I always used to like to say word salad. We're going to disrupt the cryptocurrency industry by creating a blah, 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 blah. Just total nonsense that really just truly, if you thought about it, didn't mean anything at all. So now anymore, I have the idea of that it's not really about what a developer says or what a developer's white paper says, but what a developer actually does. So it's very difficult to invest into cryptocurrencies lately, especially ICOs, if all they can do is say and can't actually show you what they're going to do. But moving on to the next article here. Japan's GMO quits manufacturing and selling mining machines. GMO Internet Incorporated announced on Tuesday, following a board of directors meeting, that it will no longer develop, manufacture, or sell mining machines. The company is posting an extraordinary loss of $218 million related to these activities for the fourth quarter of the fiscal year ending 2018. And regarding the current mining machine markets, the environment is increasingly competitive because of the decreased demand, mainly due to the decline in cryptocurrency price, the decline in sales price, etc. And the announcement reads, in addition, GMO noted that it has purchased mining machines and paid the cost required to manufacture its 7-nanometer machines. With the decision to exit the manufacturing business, GMO revealed that it will transfer related assets held to some LLC, special purpose company of Tanny Electronics Corporation. And GMO announced the development of its 7-nanometer Bitcoin mining equipment in September last year. Miner B2, the first line of its equipment, went on sale for $2,000, and another one, B3, went on sale in July for the same price. The first batch of B2s was supposed to be shipped at the end of October and B3s in November. However, to date, no mining machines of either type have been shipped. So I'm not sure if anybody actually got their money back or if just everybody simply basically got scammed from this and just didn't receive any of their machines or their money back. I'm assuming they are probably starting to do refunds or something, but nothing has really been shipped. Or maybe they are trying to ship them, and that's just the last thing that they're going to do, is just eventually in the upcoming month or months, will ship out the final B2 and B3 miners. But either way, none of them have been shipped out. So unfortunately, lots of mining manufacturers, ASICs, etc. I guess not unfortunately. I was never really a big fan of ASICs. They're just a little too expensive for most people to get into, and that sort of, again, defeats the purpose of crypto. But with Bitcoin, ASICs must keep running, essentially, at this point. Otherwise, the hash rate could go down so significantly that a 51% attack could occur, or something worse, or transactions will slow down. I suppose it would be nice to go back to Bitcoin GPUs, but now that there's so many ASICs out there, just because manufacturers stop making them doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't still ASICs out there. So many S9s have been sold, probably at least 1 million of them were sold, and are all over the place, and will never stop mining with ASICs. The only problem is who is going to continue making ASICs at this point and continuing the hash rate even further? So ASICs were always kind of a bad idea to invest in. I talked about them from time to time on my channel, as of course they have a lot to do with cryptocurrency, just inherently because they exist. but they were never really a particularly great idea to buy, because you would see one come out and it would be like, oh, this one makes $100 a day. The problem is it won't even be shipped for several months, and by the time it gets shipped, prices are going to be totally different, and you're not going to be making that much. And every day after that, you're going to be making less and less and less. So moving on to coin market cap here, $129 billion market cap. So we did go down quite a bit here. You can see basically all coins had a pretty savage dip, probably because they're all connected to Bitcoin pairing on exchanges. I'm waiting for the day that crypto to crypto pairing ends on exchanges. I doubt it ever will, but I would like to see that happen, and would like to see what would happen from that, because as of right now, if Bitcoin goes up in price, the individual Satoshi goes up in price, of course, and that means the individual Satoshi will buy more statistically of all of these coins. So even if, let's say, Wave stays at $3.27 and Bitcoin doubles, that means that Bitcoin to Waves pairing will actually buy double per Satoshi now, and will essentially raise the price of just Waves and every other coin that is attached to it and paired to it on exchanges. So I asked a question, what would happen if all of that pairing ceased to exist? Let's say it was just only paired with Tether or stable coins, or just fiat dollars or whatever. What coin would rapidly go up or down in price? Would all these coins at the very bottom of CoinMarketCap and even further down on the list, would they just die off? Are they all reliant on the price of Bitcoin? It's a good question, in my opinion, I guess because I asked it myself. But either way, it would be an interesting thing to see what would happen. Bitcoin dominance at 51%, going down a little bit, meaning altcoins are going up, statistically better than Bitcoin, which is not particularly surprising most of the time. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, it helps out a lot. In the description, I have a list of social media. I have Twitter, Twitch, Steam, all that good stuff. So make sure you guys subscribe to that too if you have time. But that's all I have for you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.